Meat City, baby.
Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another 1000 Gamerscore report. And today we're covering The Surge 2. Now, before we get into things, I do want to give a quick spoiler alert. As my other 1000 Gamerscore videos, I am going to be discussing and showing all of the achievements for the game in kind of a list form and a brief description of them that happens when you unlock the achievement. So if you are worried to that level of spoilers, then you should back out now. What I won't be doing is discussing major plot points or showing any late game footage. All the background footage is from the very first couple of minutes of the game, including the tutorial and the first opening area. So with that out of the way, what is The Surge 2? Well, it's kind of like snack-sized Dark Souls or Elden Ring. It is a similar type of combat adventure game, high degree of difficulty, not quite as challenging, I think, as Dark Souls, but if you die, you drop your currency that you're carrying. In this game, it's called tech or tech scrap, and if you can make it back to the point where you dropped that scrap, you can pick it back up, with the hitch that there's a time limit on doing so. Overall, I think the game is easier than Dark Souls. You can kind of power yourself up to be more combat capable, where the enemies become a little bit less threatening. In Dark Souls, any enemy can kill you at any time if they get like, one or two hit chain combo going off at the right or in the wrong situation. In the Surge, you can kind of make yourself a little bit more powerful, but it's still punishing and it's still very challenging. So if Dark Souls or Elden Ring took you 150 hours to complete, The Surge 2 will take you maybe 40 or so. It is much more contained and tight, and I love it. It's a great game. One of the other things about this game that's really cool is the map. I remember playing Dark Souls 1, and the feeling of progressing through a level, fighting through these enemies, and then at the end you kind of unlock this shortcut and end up back at the checkpoint again, and now you can bypass all that combat to do the next leg of the adventure. That feeling of progress, I never had anything like it in Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 2 and 3 were still great. They still had some of that, but they didn't have that magic. And both The Surge 1 and The Surge 2 both had that. It was great. The world opens up and you get these bending around shortcuts that lead you back to your safe spot, your safe point where you do your upgrades. And then you can go back using the shortcut to continue your journey. It's a really cool game. If you like this type of game, the Dark Souls type of game, you'll like The Surge. And it's quicker and more bite-sized, so it's much more manageable. Okay, with that out of the way, what we're really here to talk about are the achievements. So let's jump into it. There are 47 achievements in the base game for your 1000 Gamerscore. At the time of this video, there is one DLC available. It adds 10 more achievements and 200 Gamerscore, bringing you up to a total of 1200 Gamerscore for this game. I liked the DLC. It's just like in the Surge 1. I think there were 2 for the Surge 1, so maybe there's another one coming. I don't know. But it is just a little bite-sized add-on. The achievements aren't oppressive. It's a cool little side story. You get some cool equipment. I thought it was great. So worth the investment, and it's not going to mess up your achievements or your run or anything like that. It's just a little bit of an add-on for that extra 200 Gamerscore. So what's required? Big picture, what do you need to do to get all of the achievements in this game? Well, there are no difficulty related achievements. You don't have to do an easy playthrough and a medium playthrough and a hard playthrough. There's no difficulty settings, but you do have to play through the entire game twice, and it's a full 2 playthroughs because 2 of the achievements are related to the endings of the game, and there are 2 of them. At the end of the game, there is a binary choice you have to make. You make one choice to get one ending, you make one choice, the other choice to get the other ending. So yes, you could probably do the local save scum thing and avoid this, but barring that, if you're doing it legit, you need to do 2 full playthroughs. So what are those achievements that you're going to be pursuing during those 2 full playthroughs? Well, they run the gamut, and there's no real surprises here. You have your standard achievements locked to story progressions, defeating bosses, getting to story points, going to certain areas that you'll get mandatory as you play through the game. You do have some collectibles. They're not too oppressive. They're low in number. Like there's one where you have to get these memory spots and you walk to a spot, and then you unlock a memory, a little echo, sometimes they call them, but there's only 10 of them. So it's not too bad. It's not like you're tracing down, 100 of data files or anything else kind of crazy like that. Small little bits of collectibles. There is kind of crafting in this game. It's not to the level of Dark Souls. You're not like making items and consumables and stuff like that, but you do make sets of armor. One of the unique things that the Surge does is in combat, you can chop off the limbs of your enemy, arms, legs, head, body. You can target them and then cut them off with a finishing maneuver, and doing so gives you the related piece of armor. If it's an arm, you'll get the arm armor schematic. And then you can go and craft that arm piece of armor once you have the schematic. So one of the achievements is to craft 20 full sets of armor. So it's not really crafting, but it's kind of crafting. But that's as bad as it gets, and that's not too bad at all. There are combat achievements, kind of your standard fare. There is directional blocking in the game. So on top of holding up your block button when an attack is incoming, the attack comes from a direction. And if you block in that direction, you actually get like a super counter, kind of like a block counter in Dark Souls, but even better. And so you have to do that, I don't know if it's 20 or 30 times to get an achievement. You have to get certain kills on enemies using your drone a certain way, right? It's just little combat things. None of them, again, nothing like too crazy, nothing too oppressive. I think the worst one of these is you have to get 3 kills with 1 missile attack from your drone. And that can be a little bit tough because you have to have them low enough to kill with the missile, and you have to have 3 looped in close enough. There is kind of a story element that presents a really good opportunity for this, and I won't spoil anything, but when you return to the opening area of the game where you fight the first boss of your playthrough, your first legit boss, go back there after the world changes, which we'll talk about later, and there are some kind of soft, squishy enemies all grouped up there, and you can use the missile in that location to really easily get that combat achievement. Everything else, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So, as you're going through the game, are there missable achievements? And this is something I alluded to a little bit earlier when I said, when the world changes. At a very specific time during the story, the world will change. And what I mean by that is the map, the area, the game that you kind of run around in, something's going to happen to it to alter it. You'll still have the same locations. They'll still be kind of the same shell, but things will have changed. Like you won't be able to take the same path to get from A to B. You're still going from the same A to the same B, but there'll be obstacles and the path you took before will be blocked, so you have to take a new path, right? And along with that will come new enemies. And so when that change happens, it's very, very obvious. The game gives you this kind of big prompt and says, hey, you're about to do something that's going to change things and it's irreversible. Turn back now. Well, if you do that, you could lock yourself out of, I think it's about 5 achievements. One example, there are sniper rifle turrets set up in the game. And one of the achievements is to take out all of the sniper turret operators. I think there's 5 of them in total. Well, there's 3 of them that you can get before the world changes and 2 after. If you miss those 3 before the world changes, they'll be gone, and then you won't be able to get that in this playthrough. You'll have to wait for your second playthrough. And so there's some other ones like that you just need to do the thing, all of the thing you can do before the world changes. So missable achievements, yes, there are quite a few. It's something that you'll want to look into if you're worried about missing achievements because, again, it's not, you can't wait until the very end of the game and then go and mop up. There is no, after you kill the end boss, go and mop up. No. When the world changes, it's changed. When you kill the end boss, the game ends, and then you start New Game Plus. So limited opportunities to go back and clean up anything that you may have missed. Well, that brings us to the most difficult achievement in the game, and this could be debatable. You could pick different bosses based on your experience with them. The one that I found the most challenging, and it wasn't really close. So for me, this is a clear winner for the most difficult achievement. It's called Triplets. And again, without giving anything away, in the first part of the game, the first part of the story, you'll kill a boss. And then after the world changes, there'll be 3 kind of copies of it scattered throughout the world. They're not all in the same spot, like where the first one is. You kind of have to find them, but they're hard to miss. But they were very difficult. If you are at all not up to date on your equipment, if you don't have the highest level of armor that you can have to blunt that damage, this thing can wreck you really quick. You have to learn the patterns to do the directional blocking, because again, the thing has very powerful attacks that can overwhelm you very quickly, but if you learn the fight, if you learn the directional blocking, you can absolutely get through it. But that's the one for me. It's triplets. That was the hardest achievement in the game. And it's not that bad. Difficult, but definitely not insurmountable. The most annoying achievement in the game for me is called Swiss Army Drone. So in the game, you get this kind of little helper drone. It sits on your back and you can activate it. It's usually on a cooldown or an ammo supply, so it's not unlimited, but it has different weapons that you can get to attach to it and then activate those weapons when you're in combat. And so the Swiss Army Drone achievement requires you to get all of those combat related attachments for the drone. There are 12 of them in total. And the annoying part is that a number of them require that you kill a specific enemy, like a boss enemy, in a certain way. It's like boss X, you have to defeat him by chopping off his left arm, and then you'll get one of the drone attachments. And then another boss later, you have to kill by chopping off their right leg to get the drone attachment, right? So it's very specific, and it's a boss. So you can't, it's not like a normal enemy where you can just grind it, and if you mess it up, go back and redo it. No, it's a boss, and if you mess it up, you have to do the whole other playthrough and then get it right. Again, you're gonna do 2 playthroughs, so you get 2 chances at this. I certainly messed up one of these on my first playthrough, and it was the only achievement that I had to go and clean up in my second playthrough, but I did, and then of course I went and got the second ending achievement as well. One other note, multiplayer achievements, there is no multiplayer in this game. There's like a messaging system. It's kind of like the Dark Souls messages, but it's icons instead. So you can give players like little hints, like an arrow that says there's a loot thing up and then right. I mean, it's very rudimentary, very basic. It's kind of cool, but there's no summoning, there's no calling people in, there's no PvP, nothing like that. You can't get help fighting the bosses, so that makes it a little more tough than Dark Souls, right? Or Elden Ring, where you can get that help, but you can't get invaded either, so it also has that benefit. So no multiplayer required achievements as well, which is another bonus. So that just leaves my final verdict for the achievements in this game. And I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. The achievements are pretty straightforward in terms of their time required. There's not a lot of repetitive grinding or like manhunts or like checking every nook and cranny, but there is a lot of very, very specific requirements, and if you miss them, if you don't do them just right or at just the right time, you can again lock yourself out for that first playthrough. I mentioned those 10 memories, right? If you don't get them all before the world changes, or the 9 that are available, you're gonna miss it, right? And so, did you find that one that was around this other corner that you didn't take? If you didn't, then you're out of luck again until your second playthrough. So it was just a little bit too much of that for me. That's what cost this a couple of points. Again, a required second playthrough to see the second ending. Never really a big fan of that. Again, here it can be very quick because you'll be powered up. It's New Game Plus. You know what to do, so you can cut out a lot of the fat and make your second run kind of a victory lap, which isn't that bad. Again, Elden Ring required 3 playthroughs. This is only 2, so it's good. The achievements are good. The time required to complete them is way less than Elden Ring, which I discussed in my previous video. So they're great. 8 out of 10, solid number. I definitely recommend the achievements as long as you're at all into this type of game. A little bit of difficult combat, but rewarding when you get through it. You're gonna be just fine. I definitely would recommend going for it. Get the DLC, get yourself 1200 Gamerscore, and enjoy The Surge 2. That's gonna wrap up the video. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.